Hey folks, welcome to another Broken Meeple review, and if you hear anything outside I do apologise, but we'll see. You know, people have told me it's not to be a big problem, but I just want to give you that little warning. So this is a review for Empires of the North, and yes, it's definitely one of the hotness right now. This is a new edition from Portal Games, Ignacy Trzewiczek, and you will notice, well actually you won't notice because I'm sure your eyesight is not that good, the words Imperial Settlers at the top there. Yes, this is a new game in that whole Imperial Settlers universe. We've had the Roll and Write that I reviewed a few months back. We've had Imperial Settlers, which is right on this shelf, right next to there, filling up this gap. In fact, that gap is slightly bugging me, you know, but oh well, it needs must. And the idea is that this one is similar in the sense that it's a tableau building game. It's an engine builder. With Imperial Settlers, you took control of a civilization and you had a deck of cards. You could deck build if you had enough expansions. And essentially, you produced a bunch of resources at the start of a round. And then you played cards, manipulated cards, did stuff with workers. And essentially, you had to try and get the most points after 5 rounds. At the end of the round, you lost all your stuff that you produced, then got a fresh set, and then you rinse and repeat for more rounds. But with Empires of the North, it basically takes that system, tweaks it, and adds a few little extras, and comes out with a different game. One that I believe you can have alongside the other. So if you're thinking that one's going to replace the other, no, it's not going to happen. But in Empires of the North, again, it is an engine builder tableau game, except it's now the first 1 to 25 points that will trigger the end game. Of course, the most points wins. Of course! But now it's a race to get there. And of course, even if you trigger the end game, doesn't necessarily mean you'll win, because it depends on the end game points for other cards and that. But how does this sort of change from Imperial Settlers? Well, you still have a deck of cards, except now the deck of cards is fixed. There's a different difficulty rating for the different clans that are involved in this. You know, you're not taking control of a civilization, you're taking control of a northern tribe, effectively. And the other main difference is that whereas with this one, when you had expansions, you deck built, this one you don't. It's a fixed deck of cards, and it will always be a fixed deck of cards as per Ignacy Trzewiczek's words. So, plus for that, because I didn't really like the deck building in the original one. It's like, I don't play the game with enough people all the time to fathom the fact that I've got to deck build all these things. I just shove them all together and just see what happens. Here, though, I no longer have that problem. But you, essentially, during the turn, you will now not get a easy production at the start of the round. You now have to do the action to harvest off your starting fields and any more that you put down. So what you're effectively doing on your turn is a choice out of a smorgasbord of actions. You know, you've got the cards that you can play, and the cards have like some actions on them that you can use, but you now also have a Rondelle Wheel, which is different every game because you can just piece it together. And it has certain actions on it. Harvesting off your fields, go sailing, which is effectively a side mechanic which allows you to sail off to different islands to get bonuses or conquer them to get them as permanent abilities. That's really cool. And also to maybe explore by drawing more cards, you know, to procreate by increasing your population of workers, that kind of thing. But you have 2 pawns that you can use on that wheel to do some actions in addition to what your cards normally do, and obviously just the easygoing, you know, play a card for so many resources. And the idea is that you'll take it in turns to do these various actions. Any order you like, whatever. And then once everybody's passed, you know, I've run out of things to do, I'm out of resources, I don't have enough actions because it's a one-use tap thing. And then you just do the sail phase, which is where you go through that sailing thing I mentioned a minute ago, where you, in turn order of when you went sailing, you say, you know what, I'm going to take this island here, you know, that gives me all these bonuses. Well, I've put a fish on my boat, which means I can go to a distant island. I'm going to take this one for the bonuses. And the other person who's taken an axe, for example, can take an island and say, I'm not going to pillage this one, I'm going to conquer it, which means you don't get the bonuses, but you do get a permanent ability or effect, as well as the victory point for having a conquered thing. Pretty much everything you build is a victory point, but of course the other victory points you're getting are from doing various actions on the cards. And they could be simple things like convert resources into points, claim a card for points, all sorts of nice little easy ones like that. And even sailing can get you points every now and again. So in terms of comparisons to the old one, if you know this one, you know half of this one. It's very similar rule set, and the artwork, again, beautiful, gorgeous, colourful artwork in the same line as that. So if you like the way this looks, you will like the way that looks, hands down. But this has had a few upgrades, I'll admit, in other areas. The components particularly. You've got the nice wooden tokens for the different resources, the cards are still good quality, but now you have an insert in the box which holds all the cards sleeved, thank you, some people are getting it. But also, you have a tray that holds the different resource tokens. And with those resource tokens, you can now literally just take the tray out of the box, plonk it on the table, and that's part of the setup done. And then you just take your deck of cards, find the free starting fields, which are easily identifiable by the colour of their back, and shuffle your deck, and there you go. Oh yeah, assemble the Rondelle Wheel and populate the sailboard. That's it. Setup is dirt quick in this. In terms of the rules, again, pretty quick. There's not a huge rule book in here. It is well laid out. The only niggle I have with the rule book is that it is a little bit badly worded, I feel. Well, it might just be me, but I thought it was a bit badly worded when it came to describing how fields worked and how you play a field from your hand. I thought that was a little bit like ambiguous. Maybe I just read through it a bit too quick or so, but that's the only bit that I thought could have maybe used a bit of extra clarification. Might just be me, but that's what I found when I was reading it. Other than that though, the rulebook is nice and plain sailing, and considering, I know I have to say it, but First Martians, yeah, we've had to put up with bad rulebooks before, and Robinson Crusoe over there, so it's no stranger on Portal's End, but it's nice to see that, they're learning, and this sort of thing is one of the examples where the rulebook's actually, oh yeah, clear as day, 99% clear as day. You can play this with 2 to 4 players, it works fine with all player counts, but I'm going to say that kind of like Imperial Settlers, it's better with less than it is more. Not to say that it's like too long with 3 or 4, but obviously you want to avoid the analysis paralysis players when you've got more people. But you still have a little bit of interaction with, using the axes to not destroy entire buildings, because some people didn't like that from Imperial Settlers. This time you just exhaust them, which means for the round, they can't use it for its particular action. That's fine, because to be fair, to stop certain opponents, you're going to need to do that. So it's not quite as, horribly destructive as what raising locations was in the previous game. But 2 to 4 works fine. There is a solo mode in here, and I gotta admit, the solo mode's actually pretty good.
This is why Superman works alone.
With this one, you have a scenario booklet. 4 scenarios. Sadly, I didn't get the pre-order one for more. But essentially, it gives you a starting setup with a unique building and maybe some different resources and rules that differ from the normal game. There's 4 of them, and the replay value goes off the charts with that. Because first of all, you have 6 clans. So you've got 6 decks before he stuffs his expansions here to play with. So lots of different combinations of games could go forth, and they got different difficulty ratings and different play styles and sort of path to victory they aim for. But then the solo scenarios do work a bit differently as you use each clan. I mean, one scenario you might completely whitewash with one particular clan, and then you play another one and it's like, oh, it's a bit more tricky for this one, how do I do with this one? Well, now you've got 4 scenarios that you can play 6 times each with a different clan before you exhaust all the content possible, or combinations possible, in the solo game. So 24 solo games plus what you would do with the multiplayer, not bad for replay value, I have got to say. It does the job very nicely. But in terms of the way the game plays, it's super smooth. I mean, if you just avoid the AP player, which is more a fault of the player in this case than the game, because I don't think the game generates a lot of AP. I've just seen slow people when I've played this sort of game with them. But the actions are dirt simple to understand. You have, the workers that just go onto a card, sometimes permanently. You have to do other effects to get them off. I really like that. But you have the 2 pawns for the action wheel, which you can also flip the pawn to go on an adjacent space on the wheel. So you've got some cool tactical play there, and you've got sailing if the card allows it, and some cards allow you to boost other actions. But you should be able to see in front of you what it is you need to do. I definitely want to trigger those actions. How many resources do I need? Right, I should go harvest. That will get me those. You're puzzling these in your head. But I find that if you get the right people, this has very quick turns. I played this completely new, only with Imperial Settlers backling, with Ignacity at the expo. 2 of us, right? And he even said it in his own words. He was, it was nice to hear it actually, but we were having super quick turns. I mean, I was playing this, right, he plays a card. I do an action, he goes sailing. I do another action, he raises one of my locations. I harvest from a field, I flip that token, done. He then sails again. I flip the other token, done. He then puts his pawn out, done. You can, especially with 2 players, you can have super fast turns and the game can be over in its projected lineup of 45 minutes. It's a 45 to 90 minute game, just like Imperial Settlers was. And I guarantee you, if you thought it was difficult to meet that time limit in Imperial Settlers, which it can be, I must admit, there should be no problem in this game. I haven't had a game go over 90 minutes yet, and that was with 4 players teaching 3 brand new players, and one of which was kind of a little bit slow on the uptake. And one of the reasons for this is because of that idea that you're racing to 25 points. That is so much better than the Imperial Settlers 5-round one, because it means the game could end in as little as 4 rounds. I've yet to see that happen. I'm not entirely certain how well the stars must have aligned for you to do it in 4 rounds, but it can be done. And so you might just have a game where it goes super fast. You might have one that takes a bit longer, but it still shouldn't go past 90 minutes. With Imperial Settlers, you were kind of at the mercy of the rounds, regardless if somebody was like miles into the lead. So, all in all, trying to sum this game up, if you like Imperial Settlers, there is no reason you shouldn't like this. This should be completely on your wavelength if that's the case. What it does for me, I have to say, I love this game. I really do. This is taking a system I already love. You know, Imperial Settlers was always in the center of my top 100. Not going to say where it is this year, but I know you don't. But this one, oh my god, it takes the system I already liked. I already liked Imperial Settlers, even though there were 1 or 2 things that I'm thinking, oh, I wish that was different, I wish that didn't have to be like that. Tweaks them so that those problems are now fixed, and then adds some extra bits in there where I'm like, love it. I love that Rondelle Wheel. It's different every game because you piece it together. But the idea that it adds the tactical element that I must go harvest my own fields. I don't just get a random ton of production every round that I have to like, alright, hang on, we start a new round. So I need 3 of these, 2 sheep, 1 gold. That gives me 2 cards, you know, stuff like that. No, it's a case of, right, what do I need? I need at least 4 fish. Well, I better go to my fish field and get it. So there's my action, do the harvest action. And then the other actions again, drawing the cards, procreating, going sailing, tactical use. You could have anywhere between 2 to 4 actions on that wheel, because you have to spend an apple to flip the token over onto another side, but it gives you an extra tactical element. Are you harvesting tomatoes or apples, whatever they're meant to be, like all the time? Great, you've got full control over that wheel. But maybe you're one of these players that, oh, I don't make a lot of apples, so I'm going to have to do my stuff without using that wheel. That maybe I'll go sailing more instead. My clan might be more geared towards it. When me and Ignacy played, he had a sailing clan. I forget who it was. I think it was Ulaf. But basically, they were very good at sailing and they got extra bonuses and that for it. So he was definitely milking that. Whereas me, I was playing, I can't remember the names, but I was playing like the one that likes to drink. So I had a bunch of locations like taverns and inns where workers could sort of go on there, get freed by another card, go onto a different card. It just created all sorts of weird and shenanigan combos. But I was using my buildings rather than sailing. We played very different styles of games, but we had great fun, and I beat him in the end.
Ah, smug mode.
Sorry, it had to be done. But, you know, it was a great, fun, very quick game. I mean, we must have finished easily within 45 minutes, probably even less than that, by the time I was taught it. And yes, granted, I had the advantage of knowing this. If you're coming into this completely brand new, I still think you'll learn this a lot easier than Imperial Settlers. I honestly believe that. If you didn't like Imperial Settlers, I'm not certain this is going to sway you back. You know, I think it's improved. So maybe you're like, oh, I didn't like these things in Imperial Settlers, but oh, now I quite like the game or something. Yeah, great. I can't see you hating this one and then jumping like into loving this one. I just can't. There are different games, and I can own both of these, and I will own both of these. But I can't see it being like that gap, if you see what I mean. So, as I say, streamlined rules, easy to learn, quick to play, certainly a lot quicker than Imperial Settlers can be. Beautiful artwork, great component quality. You know, the tokens, the cards, everything in it, great quality. With the insert, that works. It is stored on its vertical side. It holds, you know, the tokens don't leak out everywhere. It can hold sleeve cards, so component quality great, aesthetics great, streamlined rules, interesting tactical gameplay with some strategy in what, like, sort of, oh, I'm going to gun for this and munchkin this, but then you draw more cards and it's like, oh, wait, I can feel those choices and what am I going to do with that wheel? Interesting, you know, different decisions that you make, quick turns, downtime is kept to a minimal. Even in a 4-player game, it's pretty short, but in a 2 or 3-player game, the downtime is just like, done, 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 nice and quick. Replay value off the charts with 6 clans and the solo scenarios, which could lead you at least to 24 unique solo games. And that is before this game gets expansions, which it will do with more clans with decks that don't require deck building. It's a phenomenal game. This is easily the best game I played at the Expo, not including the Arkham Knights, special the 4-player massive, what was it called? The Labyrinth, not Labyrinth of Lunacy, what was it called? The Abyssal Usurper, I can't remember its name. Guardians of the Abyss, that was it. I played that was great, but I already like Arkham Horror LCG. This in terms of new games I played at the Expo, the best one, hands down. It is also currently my favourite game of 2019, and I have Wingspan and several other games that I have played this year, not including things like this War of Mine and stuff like that, where they're not 2019 games, but of games of 2019, this is easily my favourite. This for me gets the perfect 10 out of 10, because any nitpicks I have with this game are such nitpicks. But to be honest, I am struggling to think of nitpicks. It's, yes, it's not a revolutionary change from Imperial Settlers. Yes, it's better with less players than more, but it's still decent with more players, whereas I would probably not play Imperial Settlers with 4 again. I would just play it, solo or 2-player. Here I can change it. Yes, 6 clans, will it last you forever? You'll quickly get more expansions, and even then 6 clans will still last you a good while, because they do feel very different. I just really can't think of anything that's particularly wrong with it, but for me to give it a 10 also means that I want to play it over again, and I do.
You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?
I've done so. When I played it with Ignacio, I wanted to play it again. Sadly, the expo ended, but the next time I did it, it's like, oh, we played this game. Did you like it? Cool. Can we have another game, please? Because I learned how to use that clan, and then I'm like, right, I want to really give this clan the beans now that I know how to use it, but I would happily just play this with a bunch of people and say, you know what, can we have a second game of that? I want to try a different clan now, because you've got the variety, and of course that's only going to get better with time. It just works. I want to play it more often after a row, and I desire to bring it to the club nights. It frequently enters my bag, and because it's an easy game to learn, it means it's not difficult for me to teach, particularly if you already know how to do Imperial Settlers, because I only have to unteach you 1 or 2 things before I teach you Empires of the North. And if you're brand new to the whole universe, well, then it's still pretty simple. It just ticks all the boxes. It basically takes a system that was great, reworks it a little bit, and creates something even better. And that is about as good as you can get with a game, to take an already decent engine and make it better. You might argue that it's like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, yeah, granted, that works in some cases, but here, it wasn't exactly broke. There were just 1 or 2 things maybe that could be better, but he just basically gave it a service, he gave it a 1-year service, and now it's just beautiful machine, absolutely beautiful machine. So well done, 10 out of 10 for Empires of the North. Definitely one you need to check out, particularly if you already like Imperial Settlers. So that's it from me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple video, and remember, doesn't matter if you're pillaging my settlement or we're just getting drunk in my local tavern, preferably the latter, mine's a cider if you're wondering, it's still only a game. Take care, and if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel or my podcast, check out my other videos, but for now, I'll see you on the next review.